Well, hello everybody and welcome to Vinyl Treasures. I'm your host, Johnny G. John Galindo, coming to you live each and every Saturday only here on Top Shelf Oldies. Want to welcome you to the November 23rd, 2019 Vinyl Treasure Show. Very special show for this evening as I will be paying tribute to my late Aunt Mary, who exposed me to all this music here. And I had a little mess up here when I set up with this YouTube here. I don't get the right setup that I'm used to. So, and again, I forgot to hit the play for the Top Shelf Oldies broadcast, so you got in at the end of that last record there. But tonight it's all 45s that my aunt purchased while she was a teenager in the 1950s and early 60s. I pulled a lot of records out for tonight, so I really don't want to do a lot of talking, but we opened up with an instrumental that was one of my aunt's favorite instrumentals and went to number one on the Billboard charts by the two brothers from Brooklyn, New York, Santo and Johnny Farina. Their debut single on Canadian American, number one on Billboard, number two on Cashbox from June 59, was a 45 she owned on the Canadian American record label, Santo and Johnny there with Sleepwalk. So I'm playing the records chronologically as she purchased them, pretty much so, by their release date. And actually, we're going to open up the vocal portion here with the very first record that my aunt purchased, and it was not on a 45, it was on a 78. And she was about 11 years old when she bought this when it came out, maybe not on September of 1954, but a little later when it started to gain popularity. But she had it on a 78 on the Maroon label, and I'm featuring it on a 45 on the Blue label. I have all the multiple color labels that it comes out on Dootsy Williams' Dude's Own record label. But this was the first record she owned from September 54. Cleve Duncan on lead. These are the Penguins. The Penguins with the original version of Earth Angel.
Earth Angel, Earth Angel, will you be mine, my darling dear? Love you all the time. I'm just a fool in love with you. Earth angel, the one I adore. Love you forever and evermore. I'm just a fool in love with you. I fell for you, and I knew the vision of your loveliness. I hope and I pray that someday I'll be the vision of your happiness. Oh, Earth Angel, please be mine, my darling dear. Love you all the time. I'm just a fool in love with you. I fell for you, and I knew the vision of your loveliness. I hope and pray that someday that I'll be the vision of your happiness. Oh, Earth Angel, please be mine, my darling dear. Love you all the time. I'm just a fool in love with you.
That one there from September 1954. Those are the Penguins, Cleve Duncan and the Penguins, on Dootsy Williams' Dutone record label, Earth Angel, a classic record, I guess. You know, she liked that sound. She purchased it. She would have been 76 years old on the November 21st. That was her birthday. She was supposed to be a guest here on my show to talk about these records, or records that she would pick, but unfortunately that will never happen now. But I mentioned earlier in the year that I would be doing a special for her, and this is the day I picked. So let's continue here. That one there, September 54. Let's move to April 55. I normally don't play hits here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, but with this special show, I do have a few hits. I do, but there are a lot that were not hits, but I'm sure many of you will know these songs because a lot of them are classics. And this record was a big number 5 on the Billboard charts. It was the first of 7 for this group from the Nutmeg State on Al Silver's Herald record label. I posted her original 45 of this on my Facebook page. She's got all this writing on the label. She used metal inserts to play these 45s with her 1955 RCA stereo console. That's what she had. And she bought this 45 when it came out in April of 1955. The lead singer, Leroy Griffin, this is a classic record, The Nutmegs on Herald with Story Untold.
Well, here in my heart there's a story untold of a girl who left me standing in the cold, and since she's been away, I've never had a happy day. I hope and I pray that she'll hear my plea, and maybe someday she'll come back to me. For here in my heart there's a story untold. But after all you said and done, you said we'd be as one. But darling, I found I was wrong. But what did you do right from the start? You made a fool of me and then you broke my heart. Well, I hope and I pray that you'll hear my plea, and maybe someday she'll come back to me. For here in my heart there's a story untold. A story untold.
The great Nutmegs. The Nutmegs there, Leroy Griffin and the group on the Herald record label. That was a big hit for them. Their biggest hit for the Nutmegs, April 1955, a 45 that my aunt would play for me. I wasn't born yet in 1955. I came around 1958, and and some of these records did not survive. If you look at my Facebook page, if you have that available to you, a lot of the records were not in great shape, and they're probably unplayable today. And with this next, let's move on here. For this, some of you, you might be surprised with this next 45, but my aunt would listen to Alan Freed when he was on Wins AM, and he did play this 45. Believe it or not, it's the first of 16 for a group called the Four Voices, and maybe it's a little bit pop, but they do have great harmonies. And again, she was listening to the music for the first time here as we moved to May of 1955. Again, she was 11 years old at the time when she was buying these records. So let's give this one. I'm featuring her original copy on this, by the way. It's on the Columbia label. This was a big hit in Pittsburgh. It made it up to number 3, I think, on Billboard had it as a regional hit. But this one came out in May of 55. The Nutmegs was April 55. This was May 55. These are the Four Voices with Alan Chase on lead on Columbia. It's called Honest Darling, Believe Me.
Honest darling, believe me, you're the only one. That's why I rush to meet you when the day is done. Honest darling, believe me, you're so heavenly. I'd just be lost without you, like a ship at sea. When you're close to me and kiss me tenderly, you can't realize what it does to me. Honest darling, believe me, cross my heart, it's true. I know that I will always be in love with you. When you're close to me and kiss me tenderly, you can't realize what it does to me. Honest darling, believe me, cross my heart, it's true. I know that I will always be in love with you.
Yeah, those are the Four Voices. The Four Voices there from May 1955. It's on the Columbia record label. A 45 that my aunt purchased back in 1955. Honest Darling, Believe Me. That's their first record. Alan Chase on lead there for that one. As we continue here on the special edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show dedicated to my Aunt Mary. And here's a group from Chicago, Illinois. And this song became their biggest hit. It was their 4th of 11 on the VJ record label. I still have my aunt's original copy. I'll show you that, you guys, in the YouTube chat room. But it features Perkle Moses on lead. This one from June 1955. Did you have this 45 by the El Dorados? It's called At My Front Door.
Crazy little mama come knocking, brother, knocking at my front door, door, door. Crazy little mama come knocking, knocking at my front door. Crazy little mama come knock, knock, knocking just like she did before. I woke up this morning with a feeling of despair, looking for my baby and she wasn't there. Heard someone knocking, much to my surprise. There stood my baby looking in my eyes. Crazy little mama come knock, knock, knocking, just like she did before. If you got a little mama and you wanna keep her neat, keep your little mama off my street. Same thing will happen like it did before. She come knock, knock, knocking at my door. Crazy little mama come knock, knock, knocking, just like she did before. Crazy little mama come knocking, brother knocking at my front door, door, door. Crazy little mama come knocking, knocking at my front door. Crazy little mama come knock, knock, knocking, just like she did before. Walk, walk, doody walk, 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 doody walk, walk, walk. If you got a little mama and you wanna keep her neat, keep her same thing will happen like it did before she come knock, knock, knocking at my door. Crazy little mama come knock, knock, knocking, just like she did before. Crazy little mama come knock, knock, knocking, just like she did before.
That's the great sound of the Eldorados. The Eldorados on Vivian Carter's VJ record label. That was number 17 on the Billboard Hot 100. Number 8 did better on the Cashbox survey. I mean, it made it up to number 8 on the Cashbox survey. Perko Lee Moses Jr. on lead, June 1955. The Eldorados there with At My Front Door. I think my aunt only had one Eldorado 45 in her collection for that. But anyway, let's continue here. Let's move on. We are in the year 1955. Now, this next song up is the song Come Back My Love, originally done by the Wrens on the Rama label. But my aunt told me that she never knew of the Wrens version. She only knew of the version done by the Cardinals, and she remembers that. So it's their 8th of 12 releases on Atlantic Records. It features Ernie Warren on lead. This was a big number 6 record on WHOD in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but my aunt bought the 45 on the Yellow Atlantic. Let's go to June of 55. The Cardinals on Atlantic with their rendition of the tune Come Back My Love. Scratchy.
Oh, won't you come back, my love? Don't go away. Come back, my love. Come back to stay. I love you so well. I want you to know I need your love so badly. You said goodbye, I wondered why. All because of those silly lies. I love you so well, I want you to know I need your love so badly. Well, everybody makes baby mistakes in the game of romance. Now I'm asking you, darling, why don't you come back and give me a chance? Come back, my love, don't go away. I need your loving every day. I love you so well, I want you to know I need your love so badly.
Do-do-do-do-wang, do-do-do-do-wang, do-do-wang.
oh baby.
Well, come back, my love, don't stay away. I need your loving every day. I love you so well, I want you to know.
I need your love so badly. I need your love so badly.
Baby,
I need your love so badly. I need your love so badly.
yeah, those are the Cardinals. Ernie Warren and the Cardinals there on the Atlantic record label. That's their 8th of 12 releases on the Atlantic label. Their version of Come Back My Love from June 1955, originally done by the Wrens on the Rama label. But that is a cover version. She had that 45. It was very difficult to pick a lot of the records tonight because she had so many. She was not the normal teenager. She had about maybe 800 or 900 45s in her collection. I mean, through the mid 1960s or later 1960s, of course, because she kind of like matured with the music. She got really into soul music later on in the mid 1960s. But again, she used to listen to Murray the K, Alan Freed, Jocko Henderson, all the cool disc jockeys in the 1950s. And she said she used to love to dance, so a lot of the records were great dancing records, and she was a great dancer. And speaking of dancing, she taught me how to dance slow to this next record. This one, also in the same month and year, June 1955, she taught me how to dance slow to this song. We head back to Chicago for the great Orchids. It's the first of two they did on the Parrot label. It was written by the lead singer. His name is Gilbert Warren. This one from June of 55, the Orchids on Parrot with You're Everything to Me.
Well done. I love you, can't see. You're never leaving me. You're everything to me.
You're everything to me.
Well, darling, you're the angel of my dream. In your eyes, love light gleam. You're everything to me. Well, my dear, when you're near,
You everything to me.
oh, 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 yes, you know
That I love you so.
well, darling, you're the angel of my dream. In your eyes, love light gleam. You're everything to me. Well, darling, I love you, can't see. You're never leaving me. You're everything to me.
Those are the Orchids. The Orchids there from June 1955 on the Parrot record label. You're Everything to Me. Gilbert Warren on lead for that one. She showed me how to slow step to that record. If you can just imagine two people together and going back and forth. I was like, Mary, how do I do this? She's like, you're supposed to lead the girl in the dance. So she'd get me in the position and we'd go back and forth to this record. And she says, you just gotta go back and forth to the record. I says, okay, Mary. And then we put on another record, and I went a little bit faster. But anyway, that's a cool 45 my aunt had. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening spinning original vinyl 45s. We do it from 10 to midnight every Saturday right here on Top Shelf Oldies, and I'm playing records that my aunt owned, and she purchased all these while she was about 11 years old, going on 12 years old, and my aunt really loved the Moonglows. She loved Sincerely, most of all, We Go Together, I Knew from the Start, and this next song I think was her favorite. It's their fifth release on the Chess label. It features Bobby Lester on lead. I hope the copyright police don't mess me up with this, because when they do, it erases the video chat, and I know so many of you that watch the archives on the YouTube, you love to read the back and forth on the YouTube chat, so it would be terrible. So YouTube, do not give me a copyright strike on this. But anyway, let's go back to November of 1955. These are the great Moonglows with Bobby Lester on lead on the Chess label, and their classic, it's called In My Diary.
In my diary, a lot of things I'm gonna write about the moon and that lonely things you do. Diaries are made of things we do, and all the people we met. But my diary is about you, and I don't want to forget. Forget in my diary, I'll write as plain as I can, paint a picture with words, so the world can understand.
A nice mint copy on that one. Nat Papagallo, how does that sound on your headphones there? Because that's a clean copy of the Moonglows, November 1955. Bobby Lester on lead. That's their fifth release on the Chess record label, In My Diary. And of course, my aunt's records were nowhere near in that condition. Maybe on the first day she purchased them. I don't know why she never put them in the sleeve. She never did. And I guess everything was fine until until I was born in 1958 because I ended up, gravitating toward the records and breaking them on her. And I remember I broke a Cadillac's 45 on her. I don't know how old I was. I had to be young because she said to me, I can't get these records anymore. That's it. Now it can't play. I can't play this for you. It was down the road by the Cadillacs. And I remember her telling me that. She was scolding me about that. Anyway, let's continue here. I got one more in the year 1955. This one last song here. And this song is very special to your host, Johnny G, because it was the 45 that sparked my record collecting hobby. Yes, it did, because I love this record label, and it's my logo. It's my logo on the YouTube, my YouTube site, and also my Facebook site, and that's George Goldner's Rama label, because I love to watch that label go around. It looks like clouds around like block letters. Anyway, but it was my aunt's 45, and I love this record. I love the vocals. I love the saxophone. And it's a great record to dance to. And she had this record in her collection. It's the second of 7 on the Rama label with Richard Barrett on lead. This one from November 55, The Great Valentines, and their tune called I Love You, Darling.
I love you, darling. I love you so. I love you, darling. I love you so. I love you, darling. And I won't ever let you go. Never let you go. I need you, baby. I need you so. I need you, baby. I need you so. I need you, baby. And I won't ever let you, never let you go. I love you, darling. You know it's true. I need you, baby. You know I do. I love you, darling. And I won't ever let you, baby.
As Richard Barrett and the Valentines, November 1955, George Goldner's Rama record label. I Love You, Darling is the name of that one. Flipside's good, too. It's a nice ballad. It's called Hand Me Down Love. And she had that record, and she had the previous release by the Valentines. It was Lily Mae Bell. Those were the two. I don't think she liked the Woo-Woo Train that much, and I don't think she remembers hearing the other Valentines releases, but I have those records. Yes, I do. Johnny G here for a special edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show as we pay tribute to my late Aunt Mary. She really turned me on to all this music that is rolled into my 60's collection. And I think I'm going to do a special on that, not next Saturday, because next Saturday it's the last Saturday of the month, so that's an all 60s show, 1964 and later. But for the other 3 Saturdays, it's 1950s and early 60s 45s out of my collection. So we move into 1956 now with another one of her favorite groups, because she did have a few of the Cadillac's 45s in her collection. And like I mentioned, I broke her down the road. I did. But here's the group's follow-up to Speedo with Earl Speedo Carroll on lead from March of 1956. She loved this Cadillac's record here on Josie Records. Let's give a listen to the Cadillacs with their tune called Zoom.
Well, Zoom, when the strings of my heart, yes, I know you'd start a little flame in my heart. Well, Zoom, when the strings of my heart, yes, I know you'd start a little flame in my heart. Do you remember the time we met? Your love was mine. Do you remember the night we met? Well, Zoom, when the strings of my heart, yes, I know you start a little flame in my heart.
Yes, I do. And you get my deep well, me baby, and squeeze me tight. Never let me go.
Oh, Zoom, when the strings of my heart, yes, I know you start a little flame in my heart.
Yeah, those are the great Cadillacs. The Cadillacs there on the Josie record label. Earl Speedo Carroll on lead there. He was Earl Speedo Carroll because the record prior to this was Speedo by the Cadillacs. March 1956, and that's a cool tune. She liked all these records that had Zoom, Zoop, Zoop, Zoom, 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 Zoom by the Collegians. What other records had Zoop, a Z in it? Brian, help me out there with those novelty sounds. Anyway, Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the cool tunes here. We are in the year 1956, where I'm playing these 45s chronologically as my aunt would have probably purchased them, although not really, because I'm sure there was really some overlap. I needed some kind of way to do this, and my list was too large, and I'm talking to Charlene, who helps me. I couldn't do the show without Charlene Whiteside. So I'm like, Charlene, what do I do? Because I played this one earlier in the year. I'm not going to play it, or I have to play this one, but I'm not going to play these. So anything from 2017 and earlier, I can feature again. So some of these I have played maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. I've been here on Top Shelf Oldies since 2005. But let's continue here. Now you'll notice a lot of her 45s were played by Alan Freed. As I mentioned, she used to tune into his Wins program, and Freed would feature the Flamingos quite often. He I know he was involved with the Flamingos, actually more so with the Moonglows, but he also played the Flamingos, especially on Checker. And she loved their fourth release on Checker. It features Nate Nelson on lead. Let's go to April 1956, the Flamingos on Checker with their classic. It's called A Kiss from Your Lips.
Changed my whole life around. A kiss like yours nowhere can be found. Gee, how blessed I am to have a kiss from your lips. Oh, a kiss from your lips holds a story still untold. A kiss from your lips, more precious than gold. Gee, how blessed I am to have a kiss from your lips. I've loved for many years, and a kiss of a thousand lips, but nothing went right until that night I slipped a kiss from your lips. Oh, a kiss from your lips changed my whole life around. Gee, how blessed I am to have the kiss from your lips.
Those are the great Flamingos. Nate Nelson on lead, April 1956. On the Checker record banner, A Kiss from Your Lips. That's a great tune there. My aunt really loved the Flamingos. They will return later on in the show. I have to say something here. I have a very young collector in the YouTube chat room, Evan Blatt. Evan, I think you said you're from Pennsylvania. And this is my youngest listener that I even know of. He's 15 years old, and he seems very knowledgeable about the music because he's talking about all the records here that I'm playing. And it kind of sort of reminds me of myself when I used to turn into all the collectors show, like George Doo-Wop Tompkins, the R&B Review, to the Time Capsule show, to listen to this music and to really hear songs that I've never heard before. But I'm sure Evan maybe knows a large many of these records that I'm featuring tonight, because you used to hear these actually here in New York in the 70s when I started becoming involved in the music. I would have to ask my aunt if she knew this record or that record, and of course she didn't know a lot of them because I was listening to collector shows. But this really kind of was the was the jumping off point for me. So, Evan, welcome to the Vinyl Treasure Show. And please, if I could help you with any of your collecting stuff, let me know, because it's kind of like me reversed, kind of really odd. Well, thank you for being here. And thank you all for tuning in. This is very important for me, that and hope you're digging on these cool tunes. But anyway, let's continue here. Now, she told me, my aunt, that her favorite LP was on the Jubilee label. It was the Rumble album, and I still have it. I should have pulled it out to show you, but she had some of the 45s on that album, and she had some favorites on that album, and she loved all the songs on that LP, and this song was one of her favorites. This group from Harlem, New York, they're called the Bop Chords, features Ernest Harrison Onley. Let's go to June of 1956. These are the Bop Chords on Holiday, on the Black Holiday label, with Castle in the Sky.
I got a castle in the sky, built for you, dear, just for you and I. A castle in the sky. I wonder why that you're my love to be, and you will always be in my heart. A castle in the sky makes me realize that you're the one for me, and you will always be in my heart. I'll be the king, dear, you'll be my queen, and then my darling. Oh, castle in the sky makes me realize that you're the one for me, and you will always be in my heart. I'll be the king, dear, you'll be my queen, and then my darling. Oh, castle in the sky makes me realize that you're the one for me, and you will always be in my heart, and you will always be in my heart.
That's the first of three for the Bop Chords. The Bop Chords on the Holiday label, June 1956 release. Castle in the Sky is that I was going to play when I woke up this morning too, but I played it earlier in the year. So I said, let me play Castle in the Sky, because every record on that Rumble album is a great song, and that was her favorite LP. She told me that. She had lots of compilation albums, because she would have had more records, but she would buy all these compilation LPs, and they're not in great shape, unfortunately, but I still have them here, all the oldies but goodies series, etc. But anyway, let's continue here. We are in the year 1956, and this next song might surprise some of you, a 45 that my aunt purchased, but these gals did have great harmony, believe it or not, and this is a cover song. This was originally done by the Honeybees on the Imperial label a couple months earlier, or maybe a month earlier, but then it was covered by these gals from Middleton, Ohio. This charted at number 52 on Billboard, 36 on Cashbox. It was a big number 5 on WOKY in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And this was the cover version that my aunt had on the Coral label, September 56, the McGuire Sisters version of Endless.
do. I want you, I need you, I love you, darling, I do. Ooh, oh yes, it's endless, endless. The tears I cry are endless, endless. And you know why I want you, I need you, I love you, darling, I do. Ooh, ooh. Like the clock on the shelf, my love goes on and on. I keep blaming myself. Every hour you're gone, gone, gone. Oh yes, it's endless, endless. Till you return, it's endless, endless. The fire will burn. I want you, I need you, I love you endlessly. Like the clock on the shelf, my love goes on and on. I've been blaming myself. Every hour you're gone, gone, gone. Oh, it's endless, endless. Till you return, it's endless, endless. The fire will burn. I want you, I need you, I love you endlessly.
Need you, I want you, I love you endlessly.
I need you, I want you, I love you
Cover tunes here on the special edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show. That's a 45 my aunt purchased back in September 1956, originally done by the Honeybees. Those are the McGuire sisters with their version of the tune Endless. Let's stay in the year 1956, and here's a 45 she purchased on the Pilgrim label. This group is out of Roxbury, Massachusetts. It's their second release on the Pilgrim label. It's a follow-up to their hit Ka-Ding Dong. This one features Teddy Scott on lead, September 1956 for the G-Clefs. The G-Clefs on the Pilgrim label, and their tune called 'Cause You're Mine.
Whip, I love you so. Whip, I love you so. 'Cause you're mine.
'Cause you're mine.
Mine.
Well, I really, really miss you, baby. I miss you so. I spend all night, I cry for you. Want you to know you're for me, for you. My love is true.
'Cause you're mine.
'Cause you're mine.
Mine.
Well, I really, really lost my love you so. And you know why? That very day I left you, baby. All day I cried, you're for me, for you.
My love is true. 'Cause you're mine.
'Cause you're mine.
Mine.
You're for me.
Because I love you so.
Well, I really, really lost my head. And you know why? That very day I left you, baby. All day I cried, you're for me, for you.
My love is true. 'Cause you're you're mine.
'Cause you're mine.
Mine, mine. You're real cool.
'Cause you're mine.
Mine, mine. You're all mine.
'Cause you're mine.
Mine, mine. 'Cause you're
Yeah, those are the G clefs. She loved the G clefs there on the Pilgrim label. September 1957, Cause You're Mine is the name of that one. I wish it was not on styrene. You know how Johnny G hates styrene vinyl. I do. I like the hard vinyl, I do, but not that crappy styrene. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Let's move into 1957 now. Another group my aunt liked was out of Queens, New York, and I know she owned at least 3 of their 45s. I think it was Can't We Be Sweethearts. I posted her copy up on my Facebook wall, and there's another coming up later in the show if I get to it, and the one I'm playing now on George Goldner's G record label. It features Herbie Cox on lead. This was a 45 she purchased from January 1957, the Cleftones on G, and their tune called Why You Do Me Like You Do. From Queens, New York, those are the Cleftones. Herbie Cox and the Cleftones, that's their 5th of 14 releases on the G record label. Why You Do Me Like You Do is the name of that one from January 1957. And let's stay in 1957. She had a couple of 45s on Morty Craft's Melba record label. I know she had the Willows, Church Bells May Ring, and she had this one by this group out of Brooklyn, New York. Now, the song was co-written by their lead singer. His name is Bill Witt. Go to early 1957 for the Rocketones. The Rocketones on the Melba label, and their tune called Mexico.
Boom, 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 boom.
Sounds of 1957 here on the special edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the Rocketones. Early 1957 release on the Melba label, Morty Craft's Melba Records out of New York City, song entitled Mexico. As we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, here's another one of her favorite groups. They were the Dubs. I often feature both sides of their second Gone release. It was Could This Be Magic was the 45 she had. I love the flip side also. Usually open up with an up-tempo, Such Lovin'. But I have another Dubs record coming up later. But here is their first of 6 on the Gone label. It's Richard Blandon on lead. And I could have played my Johnson copy, but I don't like the way it sounds. It's a polished copy, and I don't like the hiss in it. I'm not happy with that. I bought that from Ronnie I, and I'm not happy with that copy. But we're going to give a listen to this. Actually, this is a VG copy on this Shadow Gone print, which I actually have a better copy of this floating around somewhere, but this one from April 57. My aunt had this 45 by the Dubs on Gone. It's called Don't Ask Me to Be Lonely. To get a new copy of that one. I do have a better copy than that. You see, the Johnson record has I think that's the longer ending. I can try because I do have the Johnson 45, but actually I want to run out of time. I got a lot of records to play. Those are the Dubs. Don't Ask Me to Be Lonely. One of the favorites. One of my aunt's favorite dub records. Let's put it that way. That was only number 72. That record made it to 72 on Billboard and Cashbox. Unfortunately, no, maybe just Billboard. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here. Now, she met the lead singer of this next group sometime in the mid-1960s. One evening, she was in Mount Vernon, New York. I don't know where she went, to a nightclub or something, but she was actually talking to Bob Scholl about his career and that she had his 45s, etc. Of course, Bob Scholl was the lead of the Mellow Kings, and she purchased the record back in April of 57. It's on Al Silver's Herald label, and I'm not featuring the Mellow Kings press. I'm featuring the Mellow Tones press. I have this on a stock and I have it on a promo, but the promo is in nice condition one here. So she loved this record too. Let's go to April of 57. Mine says the Mellow Tones, aka the Mellow Kings. It's on Herald Records. It's a classic. It's called Tonight Tonight.
Tonight, tonight.
just whisper, shh, I love you, and we'll eternally. Tonight, tonight, more than any time before, this heart of mine seems to need you so much more. The touch of your lips, the thrill of your embrace, keep saying that no one will ever take your place. While looking up above, I wished upon a star and prayed for a blessing from above. Well, if my wish should come true, until our life is through, I'll have you near to have to all that to love. Well, tonight, tonight may never reach an end. I'll miss you so till you're in my arms again. With all of my heart, I declare with all my mind, I'll love you forever, and I love you tonight. Love you tonight. Tonight, tonight may never reach an end. I'll miss you so till you're in my arms again. With all of my heart, I declare with all my mind, I'll love you forever as I love you tonight. Love you tonight.
Yeah, it's a 45, my amper. Not that one. She had the Mellow Kings there. That's the Mellow Tones. I featured a version, a promo version on the Herald label, April 1957, Tonight. And again, the Mellow Kings. I like, what did you say, Evan, your favorite by them? Dear Mr. Jock? Yeah, I like that tune also by the Mellow Kings on the Multicolor Herald. As we continue here, a special edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show. You know what I always tell you, what my aunt taught me? She said, always play the B-sides because you never know. You may get two great records on a 45, and she always played her B-sides, and sometimes she liked the B-sides better than the A-side. And here's an example of that, as she bought this 45 mainly for the B-side of the record, but she did like both sides, by the way. And I'm talking about the charts out of Harlem, New York. Now, the A-side was called Desiree, and the flip side was called Zoop. So let's give it a spin here. Joe Greer on lead, May 1957. These are the charts on the Everlast label with the B-side. It's called Zoop. B-sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. I would hear these records on the Norman Night Train show, on Don K. Reed's Doo-Wop Shop, and actually CBS FM would play these records during the day at one point in the early 1970s. But that was a record that my aunt remembers the charts there. Joe Greer on lead, May 1957. That's their first release, first of 5 on the Everlast record label with Zoop. As we continue here, and in the spring of 1957, she purchased the debut single by Johnny Maestro and the Crest. Actually, he was called Johnny Mastrangelo. He didn't change it to Maestro till later. But it's the first of 2 they did on the Joyce label. She didn't have the other release on Joyce. I have it, but she didn't buy it. This tune co-written by Johnny Mastrangelo. It's with Al Brown and the orchestra. I think it was his label too, Al Brown, associated with this Joyce label. This one from June 57. Give a listen to the Crests on Joyce with My Juanita.
My Juanita, 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 I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Shoot you to Ruby, Wawa, shoot you to Ruby, Wawa, shoot you to Ruby. Juanita, oh how I love you, Juanita, oh how I need you, my darling. Won't you please be mine? Please be mine. Juanita, love you sincerely, yes, darling. Oh so dearly, my angel. Won't you please be mine? Please be mine. Well, you know I love you so, and I'll never let you go, Juanita. Love you sincerely, yes, darling. Oh, so dearly, my angel. Won't you please be mine?
June 57 release there for the Crests on the Joyce label, the Joyce record label. My Juanita is the name of that one. I think My Juanita was the B-side. Sweetest One, I think, was the A-side of the 45. Johnny G here, spinning original vinyl 45, special tribute show to my late Aunt Mary Manella. And she passed away last February, a really shocking thing that had happened. So really wasn't expecting that. But, these things happen, unfortunately. But we remember her here on this tribute show. So let's continue here. Now, she didn't take good care of her 45. So as like I mentioned to you guys, as a toddler, I broke many of them. And this was one that I broke on her, this group from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm not playing the broken one, of course, but this group is out of Atlanta, Georgia. We go back to Al Silver's Herald label. Now, for you collectors out there, the first presses of this should say the 5 Debonair. Debonaires. Second presses just say Debonaires. I have a first, but this is a West Coast press. I prefer the East Coast with the double lines and kind of like a funky print on those Monarch presses, but I do prefer certain records out of that Monarch pressing plant, like the Chess record label and the VJ record label. Very cool presses. But let's give a listen to this one by the Five Debonaires, November 57, on the Herald label. It's called Darlin'.
Dom dom doobin dom dom dooby dooby dom dom doobin dom dooby dom dom doobin dom dom doobin dom dom
Oh, darling, how I want you, and how I need you. I love you so.
dom doobin dom dom
Please, please, darling, don't ever leave me, and don't deceive me. I need you so.
dom doobin dom dom.
Oh, well now, darling, I want you so. Oh, darling, I need you. I never, ever let you go. Oh, darling, please don't leave me, and don't deceive me. I need you so. Darling, I want you so. Oh, darling, I need you. I never, ever let you go. Oh, darling, please don't leave me, and don't deceive me. I need you so.
Dom doobin dom dom dooby dooby dom dom doobin dom dom dooby dom doobin dom dom dooby dooby dom.
Those are the Five Debonaires. The Five Debonaires on Al Silver's Herald record label, Herald Records. My aunt had a lot of records on that yellow Herald label there, but those were featured at the Five Debonaires. You can have it as the Debonaires, November 1957, a song entitled Darlin'. Let's move into 1958 now with the song She Loved by this Kansas City, Missouri group. It's their first of two on Thomas Robinson's Angletone record label. The lead singer, his name is Luther Rice. Let's go to January of 1958 for the Chandeliers on Angletone, and their tune called Blueberry Sweet.
Boom, 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 doo doo, boom. Blueberry sweet, you're just right for me. Your lips are so tender, why don't you surrender? You're blueberry sweet. Let these arms be around me, and let these wings have their way. Close your eyes and turn to blueberry sweet, you're just right for me. Your lips are so
Yes, Evan, I did. I did show you the first press by the what was it? By the Chandeliers Quintet, or yeah, Quintet. Yes. The true first presses are on the Blue Angletone label, Chandeliers Quintet. Yes, but we just featured, I guess, the second press, January 1958, a song that my aunt loved, the Chandeliers, the first of two on the Angletone record label, Blueberry Sweet is the name of that one. Their other record is Dolly. That's a good tune also. Johnny G here, a special edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show dedicated to my Aunt Mary. Now, my aunt's copy of this next 45 was on the original Doe record label. It was then picked up by ABC Paramount, and it's the first of two they did on Doe Records. It features Josie Allen on lead. She also co-wrote the tune. Let's go to January of 1958. Give a listen to the Tonettes on the Doe label, and their tune called Oh, What a Baby. Yes, Daryl, that is the first label, Doe Records, ABC Paramount. Pick that up. Actually, check your ABC Paramount version of that because there are slightly different renditions of that. There is a different cut. I don't remember the dead wax etchings, but there is a difference in the ABC Paramount. Two different cuts on ABC. That one and then another one. It's a little different. Anyway, those are the Tonettes. Josie Allen on lead, January 58 on the Doe label. Oh, What a Baby is the name of that. Of course, that group backed up Vince Castro on Bong Bong. That also came out on the Doe label and the Apt label. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. We have a duo up next from the Bronx. They are Robert Carr and Johnny Mitchell. My aunt liked many of their releases, 15 in all, on High Weiss's Old Town record label. I think Matey's going to like this song here by Robert and Johnny. It's their fifth, and probably we can consider this their signature song. This was number 59 on Cashbox, 32 on Billboard, but it did much better here on the East Coast. The 45 that my aunt purchased from January 58. Give a listen to Robert and Johnny on Old Town Records with a classic. It's called We Belong Together. I'm going to send that one out to my California listener, Métis Camp. Boy, I got to say hi to her in the YouTube chat room there. That's a great tune, January 1958. I never get tired of that record by Robert and Johnny. High Weiss's Old Town record label, We Belong Together. Great tune that is, and let's continue here. There were a lot of George Gollner records in my aunt's collection. I featured some already. Now the next three are George Gollner related labels, and I got a girl group up next. This girl group from the Bronx, New York, and she had a few of their 45s. It features Arlene Smith on lead. Matey, you're gonna like this one too, from April of 1958, the Chantels. Chantels on the N label with I Love You So.
I love you so. I love you so. I want you to know I'm telling you, darling, I'll never let you go. I need you true. I hope you do too. I'm telling you, darling, I'll never let you go. Well, you know how much I love you, and that we'll never part. And you know that I need you. I'm keeping you here in my heart. I love you so. I want you to know I'm telling you, darling, I'll never let you go. I love you so.
That's Arlene Smith and the Chantels, April 1958 release. That was their 4th of 11th on George Gollner's N record label. Number 72 on Cashbox, only 42 on Billboard. It did much better regionally, especially here in New York City. All her records did. My aunt loved He's Gone, Maybe, Congratulations. What's the other one I like? Every Night is one I like. They do so many great tunes, Arlene Smith and the Chantels. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. This is a special show for my Aunt Mary. Let's continue here in the year 1958. Now, earlier we heard from the Dubs on the Gone label, their first on the Gone label, and my Aunt Mary also owned their 4th of 7 on the Gone label. Now, the song written by Richard Barrett, he was lead of the Valentines that we heard earlier in the show, but it features, again, Richard Blandon doing lead. This one from May of 1958. Here are the Dubs on Gone with Be Sure, parentheses, My Love.
Be sure, my Lord, be sure you love
That charted number 18 on WEEP in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Richard Blandon and the Dubs there, May 1958. That's their fourth release on the Gone label, Be Sure My Love. As we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Now, my aunt remembered that she loaned 13 of her 45s to her high school friend just before he enlisted into the Army, and she never got them back. That you never lend anything to anybody, especially records. Although some people are very giving of their 45s, and I could understand if you paid 79 cents for them. But when somebody asked, Johnny, could I borrow your $3,000 45 by the Cleftones on Old Town? I don't know if I'm going to lend my 45 out, but she did. I think her Santo and Johnny Sleepwalk was one of them. I'm going, Mary, what do you remember what records you lent out? And the only ones that she remembered was the Santo and Johnny record and this next record that I have on turntable number 1, as this group is out of Brooklyn, New York. It's Anthony Bourdain. He is the lead singer. Now, the A-side was a big hit for them. It was called Tears on My Pillow, but my aunt loved the B-side. She loved the B-side of the 45 better. Let's go to June of 1958. I'm featuring it on the first press. It's not Little Anthony and the Imperials on the first press. It's just called Imperials. It was Dick Clark that gave the Imperials the Little Anthony piece. But anyway, these are the Imperials on End with Two People in the World.
Just two kinds of people in the world. Why can't we fall in love? Just two kinds of people in the world. They are a boy and girl. Boy meets girl and love begins. Oh, what a feeling you get from within. For I should know, 'cause I'm in love. I'm the boy who told the girl of the stars up above. Just two kinds of people in the world. Why can't we fall in love? Just two kinds of people in the world. They are a boy and girl. Boy meets girl and love began. Oh, what a feeling you get from within. For I should know, 'cause I'm in love. I'm the boy who told the girl of the stars up above. Just two kinds of people in the world. Why can't we fall in love? Just two kinds of people in the world. Why can't we fall
Oh, great to hear that song. I haven't heard that one in a long, long time. Those are the Imperials. See, you have like, I don't want to, well, don't call this a common record, at least with the Imperials, but still, I rarely listen to all these records like this. I only listen to my records when I do my show. I'm busy with work and with Barbara and with life and everything else, but I get away for the next 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday to spin my vinyl. And again, this is a special show to my aunt, and that was a great tune that she loved, the Imperials there. Little Anthony on lead. Yes, this is the true first press. Daryl and who else asked Evan, yes. The Imperials, June 1958, the flip side of Tears on My Pillow, a great tune that is. Also, Two People in the World, co-written by Richard Barrett. He was now producing and writing for George Goldner. Let's continue here in 1958. My aunt was also a fan of this next group from Brooklyn, New York. She had a few of their Onyx releases, if you know Can I Come Over Tonight, Remember, This Could Be the Night. I played one of their rarer ones on last weekend's show, the flip side of Romeo. What was the name of it? What You Do to Me, I think was the name of that one. But she would play this Cub release over and over again. It features Jerome Ramos on lead. It's the first of two on Cub for the Velours. Let's go back to July 58 for a little bit of a cha-cha here. The Velours on Cub with Crazy Love.
My dear, how I love you so. Can't resist wanting you, I know. When we kiss, I am all aglow. Crazy love. I hear someone call your name, and my heart seems to be ashamed. When we part, I am not the same. Crazy love. About. Then I saw all the mystery of crazy
That tune there by the Velours, Jerome Ramos on lead, first of two on the Cub label, July 1958. Crazy Love. Daryl, I can do a show, a theme show with crazy in the title. It can play a lot of records. 1950s group harmony with Crazy. Johnny G's Crazy every Saturday, but tonight a special tribute to my late Aunt Mary as we continue. She loved this next tune, played on New York radio, was number 23 on WMGM. Over in New York City. The group is from Brooklyn, New York. Both sides are good, in my opinion. As we go to George Goldner's TG record label, Charlie Scardina, he's the lead singer. This group is called The Clusters. The Clusters from July 1958 with their tune called Darling, Can't You Tell?
Ooh la la, ooh la la, ooh la 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 la, ooh la la, ooh la la, ooh la la.
Bells start to ring when I near you. My heart takes wings when I near you. Birds start to sing when I near you. Do I love you, darling? Can't you tell? Ooh la la.
July 1958 release there for the Clusters. The Clusters on the TG label. Charlie Scardina on lead. Darling Can't You Tell is the name of the tune. Also, Pardon My Heart, yes. So who said that they like the flip side? Daryl, yes. Pardon My Heart, another great side that they do. They also have another song called Forecast of Love on the Epic record label. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening, playing all 45s that my aunt had in her collection, if you can even call it a collection. It wasn't. I guess it was. I guess you say you want to come see my record collection, even though you're not specifically a collector, but you are a collector or liking the music. You're going to buy records, and you can call it a small collection as I babble on here. But she also had a bunch of Black Mercury labels in her collection, and she had a few by the Diamonds, but only one by this group as we stay in Brooklyn, New York. It's the second of four they did on Mercury, and I think Matey will like this one. This is my favorite song by this group. From Brooklyn, and it features Jimmy Weston on lead. Let's go to August of 1958. These are the Dan Lears on Mercury with I Really Love You.
I really love you. I really love you, honest I do. I really want you, no one but you. I really need you, honest I do. Honest I do. I need your kisses both night and day. Please say you'll take me in your own little way. I really love you, honest I do.
To agree, I think that is better than One Summer Night. I have to say that is one of the better records by the Dan Lears. They also like A Picture of You. I think that's another great record they do. But that's the 45 my aunt purchased. I Really Love You, August 1958. On the Mercury record, the late Jimmy Weston on lead for that one. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Who said that? That's the Dandeliers, Evan, not the Dan Lears, the Dandeliers on the States label. As we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Now, this next 45 was a pretty big hit for this West Coast group. Originally came out on the Tender label out on the West Coast. It was then picked up by Dot Records, and it's a cover song, believe it or not. It was first done by the Slades on the Domino label, but my aunt had it on the Dot label. This was number 12 on Billboard, number 11 on Cashbox, and you all know this record. I think my aunt said all her girlfriends all bought this 45, so you figure, how many of your friends in high school, she said all the girls that were buying records at the time, and probably the guys, bought this 45, and probably on the Dot label, unless maybe you were in in California, you got it on the Tender label. But it features Frankie Irvin on lead. This one from August 1958. These are the Shields. The Shields, I'm playing it on dot with You Cheated.
You cheated, you lied, you said that you loved me. You cheated, you lied, you said that you want me. Oh, what can I do but just keep on loving you? Love is something you know nothing about. Love is something you can't know about. So please try to love me. Love me like I love you. Oh, please try to love me. Love me like I love you. You cheated, you lied, you said that you want me. You cheated, you lied, you said that you love me. Oh, what can I do? Oh, what can I do? Oh, what can I do?
That's a classic tune there by the Shields. Frankie Irvin on lead there, August 1958. Featured it on the Dot label. Some of you collectors may have it on the Tender label. Their tune called You Cheated, originally done by the Slades. Program note, next Saturday, Evan, I will be here, but the last Saturday of the month I do an all 60s show, so all the music is from 1964 and later through 1969, maybe a couple in 1970, but it's the second part of my collecting hobby. It's an all 60s show because I have a lot of people that tune in that like the 60s soul records mainly, but I do play all types of music in the 60s. But I am a completist when it comes to record collecting for the most part. But it's not your common. This show for me is really unusual because I never play this many records that a lot of people know, especially hits, top 10 hits that hit the chart. But sometimes it's nice to hear records that you know. Most of the time, the records that I play are unknown. But we do have very educated Top Shelf Oldies listeners, or those that tune into my show are very educated with the music, and they do know many, if not all of these songs. But that's how it'll go next Saturday. So that'll be, is it going to be, yeah, actually, I got to wish you all, I'll see you guys after Thanksgiving. Yeah, so I'm going to have some extra time to put together a 60s show. Got to pull out lots of soul records for that show. Anyway, I hope that answers your question, everyone. But let's continue here. We are in Vinyl Treasure overtime. Probably going to go at least till 1 a.m. tonight because and that should be enough really for tonight. But this is a really special show, and I had so many records that Mary liked and that really are a special part of me too. And here's a great two-sided 45 my aunt purchased in the fall of 1958. I Am Now Born Now in September of 1958. And this one charted in New York City. This was number 23 on WMGM. And First presses of this came out on the Hanover label, even though it was recorded by the owners of the Ivy record label, but they leased it out, the master out to Hanover Records, and then put it out later by themselves in 1959 or 60. But the Hanover press is the true first press. Let's go to September of 1958. It features Carl Petrus on lead, or when he comes in, you'll hear him. But these are the Unique Teens on the Hanover label with their tune called Genie. Those are the Unique Teens. Unique Teens, September 1958. Featured it on the Hanover label. That is the true first press for you collectors out there. Genie is the name of that tune. Of course, the flip side is At the Ball. For you collectors out there, check your copies of this, because there are different versions, especially the promo copy. The promo copy I have, it's not totally different, and but there's subtle differences in the record, and I'll play it for you one day. I have done that before. I forget when I did that. You can check my archive somewhere. I did that. Anyway, Johnny G here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. We're going to go to 1 a.m. tonight for this special edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show. So let's continue. Now, the lead singer, this lead singer previously sang with groups like the Marshall Brothers on Savoy, the Embers on Herald, the Bells on Rama, and the Ravens on the Argo label. And here he is on Unart Records with his group called the Embers. Now, it's a song my aunt really liked. We go to Unart Records for Willis Sanders and the Embers from October 1958, and their tune called Honey Bun.
Honey bun, honey bun, boo, boo, shaboo, yeah, yeah, shaboo, 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 whoa, 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 honey bun, for I say, baby, I mean you, young lady, don't you tell me, maybe, won't you be my honey bun, for in my heart, dear, there's a love for you there, wanna hold you so near. Oh, won't you be my honey bun, honey bun? I wanna be the know you amaze me. Stop my going crazy. Oh, won't you be my honey bun, honey bun? Yeah, yeah. Roll, 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 uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Honey bun, honey bun. I wanna be the one you love, 'cause you're the one I'm dreaming of. If there's a chance, don't tease me so. I don't wanna let you go. So please, baby, you know you amaze me. Stop my going crazy. Oh, won't you be my honey bun, honey bun? Yeah, yeah. Whoa, 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 uh-huh. Honey bun, honey bun, honey bun, honey bun, honey bun, honey bun.
October 1958, release there for Willis Sanders and the Embers on the Unart record label, and their tune called Honey Bun. We continue here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Another group that my aunt liked were the Pastels. They got together at an Air Force base to form their group, and she enjoys all their records, and the one that she liked, as well as this song that I'm featuring, which is their third Argo, was Been So Long. That was one that she liked. But let's give a listen to their third release on the Argo label. It features DeFosco Irvin on lead. It was later known as Big D. Irwin. And I love this record also from October of 1958. These are the Pastels on Argo. It's called So Far Away. The Pastels on the Argo label. Yes, originally on Mascot with Been So Long. Then it was picked up by Leonard Chess's Argo label. Pastels, there, October 1958. So Far Away is the name of the tune. DeFosco Irvin on lead, a.k.a. Big D Irwin. Later on, he had a hit with Swinging on a Star on the Dimension label. Maybe some of you know that record. Johnny G here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime, special edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show, as I pay tribute to my late aunt. She would have been 76 on the 21st, Thursday, November 21st. But she was supposed to be a guest host here, a listener. I guess that sounds so weird to be a guest listener on my show, but yes, because she was so instrumental in Johnny G's musical tastes, really. And I'm now this collector. I've been doing it all my life, amassing all these records. Not easy to do, and it, especially when you don't have any money at first. But when I start making some bucks, I went out and I used to go to all the record shows. I used to go to garage sales in the beginning. I don't have time anymore, unfortunately, and it's not that easy to find records out there anymore. But if you do house cleaning and those house sales and whatnot, sometimes they come across some things, as I know some of you listeners have lucked out with finding records like that. Anyway, let's continue here. Let's move into 1959. Now, my aunt loved this next song, maybe because it was featured in the Alan Freed movie Go Johnny Go. I think she used to watch all those like rock and roll movies, but she would this gal would sing at all the Alan Freed live shows down at, I think, maybe the Brooklyn Paramount, wherever he had the shows down in New York City. And she was called the Blonde Bombshell also. But my aunt did like this record by her. It's her 6th of 7th. She recorded on George Goldner's Gone record label. Her name is Joanne Campbell. And this song was written by Bo Diddley. Yes, it was. January 59, Joanne Campbell on Gone. It's called Mama, Can I Go Out Tonight? There was some cool acts in that movie, that Go Jimmy Go, and Jimmy Clanton, I think, was the guy in the movie there. But so was Joanne Campbell. She sang that song there, January 1959 release on the Gone record label. Mama, parentheses, Can I Go Out Tonight is the name of the tune. As we continue, we are in the year 1959. She also loved the Impressions. And when Jerry Butler left for a solo career, Curtis Mayfield became the lead singer. And she loved this song that Curtis Mayfield wrote and recorded in 1958. But it was released in 1959 on the Abner label. It was first called Falcon Records, but they had to change it to Abner. And this one from January 59. Let's give a listen to the Impressions with Senorita, I Love You.
Just thought I'd drop a line, say I'm in love, oh yeah, for the very first time. Though it is hard to say, still I feel very gay. Senorita, yes, it's you I love. Senorita, still you I'm thinking of. I love you, Senorita. Thrills I get when you hold me tight. I could stay in your loving arms all night, Senorita. I love you more and more, Senorita. You're what my love is for. I love you, Senorita. When I kiss you with all your charms, I sink in your loving arms. Darling, yes, you're my only desire. Baby, doll, you set my heart on fire. Honey, I just don't know what to say. When I see you, I just feel so gay. When I kiss you and your lips close to mine, chills go down my spine. Senorita, I just don't know what to do. Senorita, I just can't stop loving you. Oh, I love you so, Senorita. Senorita.
That's Curtis Mayfield on lead with the Impressions. He now was the lead singer of the group. That one there from January 59, Senorita, I Love You. I featured it on the Abner label. I think it also came out on VJ, a later press, like a B-side that they put out on the VJ label. And she also had Gypsy Woman, they do, on the ABC Paramount record label. Johnny G's here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Let's continue here. Now, Mary not only had group harmony 45s in her collection, she had single artists and many rock and roll releases, not to mention some soul 45s much later in her I guess liking of the music. But she loved this next record out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's the first of 4 on the Montel label for John Fred, I think it's Gourier, I think is how you pronounce it, aka John Fred. Of course, he would have a big hit in the 60s on called The Judy in Disguise with Glasses on the Paula label. But before that, he sang this song here from January of 1959, John Fred and the Playboys. This was number 82 on Billboard, 78 on Cashbox, and number 22 on KOLH in, what is that, in Kana, Texas. Did I say that? Did I do that right, Charlene? I don't know. But anyway, let's give it a spin. John Fred and the Playboys on Montel and their tune called Shirley.
Shirley, Shirley, I love you so. Never gonna let you go. Shirley, where you going tonight? Shirley, Shirley, will you be my girl? I take you around the world. Shirley, where you going tonight? Shirley, Shirley, I'd buy you anything. Would you like a diamond ring? Shirley, where you going tonight? Shirley's mama on the phone. She said Shirley's not at home. She said my little girl ought to be back soon. She's gone on a honeymoon. Oh Shirley, Shirley, you've done me wrong. That's why I sing this song. Shirley, where you going tonight? 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 Shirley, where you going tonight?
Of course, not group harmony, but found in collections that had group harmony records, that is for sure. But that's John Fred and the Playboys. John Fred and the Playboys there from January 1959. It's the first of 4 on the Montel record label. Song entitled Shirley, featured it on a West Coast press. It's pretty cool. It's Montel. It's block print. And, of course, the southern presses are styrene, and you know what Johnny G thinks about styrene 45. Let's continue in the year 1959. I was going to say 49 now. Here's another duo. I remember watching this label logo spinning round and round and round. Bob Shad's Brent record label going around and round that 1954 Victrola, which had like a velvet base that you would put the records on, and she would use these metal inserts. I showed a copy of Baby Talk by Jan and Dean. That's her original copy, totally trashed, partly by me probably, and also by that metal insert, that made in Chicago metal insert. But anyway, back to this record, and I wasn't even 1 year old yet when this record came out. No, yeah, that's right. I wasn't even born yet when this record came out. But they are Clyde Skip Batten and Gary Flip Paxton, a.k.a. Skip and Flip. This was a big hit. Big hit. This was number 12 on Cashbox, number 11 on Billboard, and a big number 2 record on WKBW in Buffalo, New York. And I do like hits. I do. And I like this record. I do. This one from May of 1959. No, actually, I was 1 year old. That's right. I was born in 58. I'm losing my mind, folks. Skip and Flip on Brent Records with It Was I.
That you walked out and left, didn't say goodbye. Who was home alone to sit and cry? It was I. It was I gave you all the love I ever had. The only things I got from you were bad. The times you didn't show up, the times you didn't call. Who was left alone through it all? It was I. love was always yours to treasure and to hold. When you let a love grow idle, it will soon grow cold. Temptation is too strong to hide. Are you really satisfied with my love the way it is? Let me tell you how it is. Please come back and try to start anew. I know that it's the proper thing to do. Darling, if we make up, I know we'll never break up. Then I know it's only me and you. Me and you.
See, I remember her playing that record for me. I do. Skip and Flip there, May 1959. That was a hit. And I rarely do play hits on my vinyl. I'm lucky if I play one hit on a normal show that I do, but I like that record there on the Brent label, It Was I. Let's continue here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. She also likes songs by this group out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They were the Skyliners. She purchased their third release on the Calico label. This was number 59 on Billboard, 43 on Cashbox, a big number one record. This was a number one record on KIMN out of Denver, Colorado. It features Jimmy Beaumont on lead, the late Jimmy Beaumont. July 1959, the Skyliners on Calico with It Happened Today.
Shoot you up, 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 shoot you up.
I knew you someday you'd come my way. It happened, it happened today. I knew somehow that you would smile. It happened.
The great Skyliners. The Skyliners there, Jimmy Beaumont on lead, July 1959 on the Calico label. That's their third of six. It's the follow-up to This I Swear. It's called It Happened Today. You know, the interesting thing about it is when I hear that record played on the radio, it is not the true original press. They use the CD copy of that, which is not that cut. It is different. Totally different. I should call the radio stations and say, you're not playing the true 45 version of that because it's obvious, at least to your host, Johnny G. Anyway, not to get off topic here, got records to play here. Now, here's a 45 my aunt told me that her high school boyfriend gave her as a gift. Although it was not on this original label, Curry's Records, it was on the Mercury label where it was a big hit, a monster hit for him. It was number 2 on Billboard and Cashbox, both reached number 2. But I'm featuring it on the Corey's label, not on the Mercury label. And the lead singer's name was John Philip Baptiste, but he recorded as Phil Phillips. Actually, it says Phil Phillips with the Twilights. This one from July 59, and on the Corey's label, his big hit, it's called Sea of Love. think it was Billy Brantz of 40 was the guy's name that my aunt's boyfriend in high school gave that Mercury release to her. And I still have it. I still have that record in my collection. Phil Phillips with the Twilights there, July 1959, featured it on the original label, Corey's Records. Sea of Love is the name of that one. That was a big, big hit as we continue here. And this is the last record from 1959. My aunt's favorite teen idol was Ricky Nelson. She had everything Ricky Nelson, 45s and LPs. I just think she liked Ricky Nelson. And she told me that she liked the lead singer of this next group from Brooklyn, New York. His name is Jimmy Gallagher. So maybe she had a thing for Jimmy Gallagher or the Passions. I don't know. But here is the second of 5 on Auticon that she owned. This one from December of 1959. This one bubbled under at number 113, I think for a couple weeks on the bubbling under charts. Give a listen to the Passions and their tune, I Only Want You.
I only want you. Oh, how I want you. I only want you. Oh, how I want you. I don't care for gold. I only want you in my arms to hold. I only want you every waking hour, every minute of the day. Well, I don't want the sun. I only want you. You're that certain one. I only want you every waking hour, every minute of the day. Even in my dreams, you are there it seems. I can always see your face. You are my romance, and at every chance I'm in your warm embrace. So tell me you are mine. I only want you till the end of time. I only want you every waking hour, every minute of the day. Oh, how I want you. I only want you. Oh, how I want you.
Oh, that's on Styrene. You know what I was like, which record do I take up? This was a last minute ad. I have it on like a swirl Auticon, but I don't think that's the first press. So I said, well, let me take the red one. Maybe the red one looks like it'll play better, but I don't like Styrene 45s, but those are the Passions. Jimmy Gallagher on lead. December 1959, I Only Want You was the name of that one on the Auticon record label. Their second of 5 on Auticon. We move into 1960 now. We go back to the Flamingos, and I featured them earlier with a song "A Kiss from Your Lips" on the Checker label. Here they are on George Goldner's End Records with a tune written by Sam Cooke. This charted number 42 on Cashbox, number 30 on Billboard. Dual leads on this, Nate Nelson and Terry Johnson. I hope Terry Johnson doesn't give me a copyright strike, because a month or two ago I was such a fool, I think, by him or on lead, and they closed down my video and it erased all the chat. I don't want to erase the chat, so please do not give me a strike on this record. But anyway, it was one of my favorites, my aunt's favorites by the group on End. Let's go back to February 1960, the Flamingos on End with Nobody Loves Me Like You Do.
Oh, my darling, I just love you so. I want you to know, and that's no one can hold me like you. No one can kiss me like you. No one loves me like you do. Everything that I say and do, I do and say it, baby, just for you. Because no one can hold me like you. No one can kiss me like you. No one loves me like you do. Whenever I'm with you, I feel so divine. There's one thing that you can do for me, that's tell me that you're mine, mine, oh mine. Everything that I say and do, I do and say it, baby, just for you. Because no one can hold me like you. No one can kiss me like you. No one loves me like you do. Everything that I say and do, I do and say it, baby, just for you. Because no one can hold me like you. No one can kiss me like you. No one loves me like you do. Oh, hey, 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 hey.
Now, that was a 45 that your host, Johnny G, I broke that record on my aunt. That styrene multicolor press, which are the East Coast press. I featured it on a white label N vinyl press, which is a West Coast Monarch press. They're asking in the YouTube chat room. Those are the Flamingos, February 1960. Tune written by Sam Cooke on the N record label, Nobody Loves Me Like You Do. As we continue here with the tribute to Aunt Mary, many times my aunt liked the B-side better than the A-side, and that is the case with this Drifters 45. The A-side was a big #1 record for them. I'm sure many of you know the tune, Save the Last Dance for Me, but she liked the flip side better. As this side features Benny King on lead, we go to August of 1960, Flip Over, Save the Last Dance for Me by the Drifters on the Atlantic label. You get this tune, it's called Nobody But Me.
Who's gonna kiss you when it's kissing time? Kissing time, kissing time. And who's gonna hold you when it's holding time? Holding time, holding time. Who'll take your hand when there's a mountain to climb? Nobody but me. Nobody but me. Nobody. Oh, me. Nobody but me. Nobody but me. Who's gonna warm you when it's cold at night? Cold at night, cold at night. And who's gonna cool you when the sun is bright? Sun is bright, sun is bright. Who'll never let you get out of sight? Nobody but me. Nobody. Oh, me. Nobody. Oh, me. Nobody but me. Nobody but me. Nobody but me. Nobody. Oh, me. Nobody. Oh, me. Nobody but me. Nobody but me. Who's gonna be there when your friends all leave? Friends all leave. Friends all leave. And who'll make you happy so you'll never grieve? evergreen, evergreen. Who'll change your life if you just believe? Nobody but me. Nobody. Oh me. Nobody. Oh me. Nobody but me. Nobody but me. Nobody. Oh me. Nobody. Oh me. Nobody. Nobody but me. Nobody. Oh me. Nobody. Oh me.
B-sides here on the Vinyl Tribute Show to my Aunt Mary. Those are the Drifters. The flip side to Save the Last Dance for Me, Nobody But Me. August 1960 release on the Atlantic record label. Let's continue here. Now here's a 45 my aunt purchased the second time around. Initially, this record came out in August of 1957 by the Shells, and it was re-released in 1960. Some DJs started playing it and started taking off. The kids started asking for it in the record stores, and Hiram Johnson, owner of Johnson Records, repressed this. This was number 23 on Cashbox, 21 on Billboard. It features Nate Bouknight on lead, featuring the November 1960 press for the Shells on the Johnson label with their tune called Baby, Oh Baby.
Love you so madly, baby. Oh,
Those are the Shells on Hiram Johnson's Johnson record label. Baby Oh Baby is the name of that one. November 1960, originally came out in 1957, and you can easily pick out the presses because the 57 press, the print is much smaller, and Angel Eyes is the flip side instead of What's in an Angel's Eyes. Johnny G here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime as we wind down here on the special tribute show to my Aunt Mary. Now, here's a group out of Los Angeles, California. Now, she purchased the biggest hit by Rochelle and the Candles. Now, did you know that Rochelle was really Rochelle Henderson? But he is not the lead singer. The lead singer is Johnny Wyatt. This record was number 27 on Cashbox, 26 on Billboard. It's on the Swingin' label. We go to January 61 for Rochelle and the Candles and their tune called Once Upon a Time.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl, the sweetest little girl in this whole wide world. She was mine once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a love set down to earth from the angels above. That love was mine. Oh, once upon a time, once upon a time. The story that I tell, I know it oh so well. It's not a fairy tale, and it's really, really true. That love, love and laughter, and they live happy ever after. Who would believe it's true? Would you? Once upon a time, there was a heart so happy and so gay. Right from the start, that heart was mine. Oh, once upon a
As Rochelle and the Candles there, great tune, my aunt, love that tune there. Johnny Wyatt on lead there on the swingin' label, January 61, Rochelle and the Candles with Once Upon a Time. Let's continue here. I was deciding if I should play this next 45 or not, but I really do like it. I like both sides of this record, and my aunt would spin this one for me, and I love watching the genie spin around on this Dunes label, this Dunes 45 by Curtis Lee, who's being backed up by the Halos. Now, I know many of you like the B-side ballad of this, and of course that's going to be played on the next 50's edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show, but I fit it in fast, slow, medium, fast, slow. That's how I do the show. So we're going to give a listen to the intended A-side here. It was a big hit for Curtis Lee. It was number 7 on Billboard, 6 on Cashbox. This produced by Phil Spector. Curtis Lee wrote it together with Tommy Boyce. This one from June of 61. Curtis Lee being backed up by the Halos. They're uncredited on the label, on the Dunes label, with Pretty Little Angel Eyes.
Pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel, pretty little angel, pretty little, pretty little, pretty little angel. Pretty, pretty little angel eyes.
Angel eyes, I really love you so. Angel eyes, I'll never let you go, because I love you, my darling.
June 61 there on the Dunes label. Curtis Lee and the Halos. Pretty Little Angel Eyes is the name of the tune. I have fond memories of that record I will never forget. I will not. As we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, earlier in the show I featured Herbie Cox and the Cleftones with Why You Do Me Like You Do from January 57. Let's move all the way up to July of 1961 with a 45 my aunt purchased in the summer of 1961. Both sides of this record she would play, and they're both covers. I think the B-side is a cover of Deed I Do. You all know this, the A-side. This was number 76 on Cashbox, 60 on Billboard, and a big number 5 on WNCH. I think it was out of Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, let's give it a spin on George Gollner's G label, July 61, the Cleftones with their rendition of the tune For Sentimental Reasons.
That you believe in me. I've given you my heart, given you my heart, given you my heart. Yes, and I love you, and you alone were meant for me. Give your loving heart to me, heart, and say we'll never part, never part. Say we'll never part, never part. Say we'll never part. I think of you every morning, dream of you darling, I'm never lonely. Whenever you're inside, yes, and I love you for sentimental reasons. I hope that you believe in me, and say we'll never part, never part. Say we'll never part, no, never, never part. Say we'll never, darling, never, never part. Say we'll never, my, never part. Say
That's another 45 I broke on my aunt, unfortunately. But those are the Cleftones, July 1961. They're back there with For Sentimental Reasons on the G record label. I don't know what happened. They might have, I don't know if there is a 3-hour limit. I forget. Oh, I don't know. Maybe there is only a 3-hour limit. And if there is, you can also go to my website, vinyltreasures.net, because I'm recording this one on the on our Top Shelf Oldies stream. So we'll post that this evening. If they cut this stream off, I don't know. Maybe they will. But I want a few more records I need to play here. Now, she had a bunch of girl group records in her collection, my aunt. Now, these gals are from Passaic, New Jersey. They're known as the Shirelles, and she owned like Will You Love Me Tomorrow, Dedicated to the One I Love, Mama Said, and Baby It's You. But I'm spinning the B-side of Baby It's You, which bubbled under at number 107, but it was number 19 on KYA out in San Francisco, California. It features Doris Coley on lead. Let's go back to November of 61. Give a listen to the Shirelles. It's on the Scepter label. It's called The Things I Want to Hear. Pretty Words.
my heart. Promise you want me to stay. Tell me that we will never part. Say and walk. You'll be loving her each day. You gotta keep telling me things I wanna hear. You gotta say every word every time you gotta show me that you care. So I'm gonna be there right through the years. Please tell me. Please tell me things I wanna hear. Pretty words, pretty words, pretty words I wanna hear. Pretty words, words I wanna hear. Words, pretty words,
B-sides as we close down the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the Shirelles from November 1961. On the Scepter label, that's the flip side of Baby It's You, a song entitled The Things I Want to Hear, Pretty Words. Hopefully Johnny G played some things you want to hear tonight. That's going to do it for Johnny G and the Vinyl Treasure Show. I want to thank you for joining Johnny G, listening to this special edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show dedicated to my late Aunt Mary, Mary Manella, and she passed away February 22nd of 2019. Kind of a shocker for me and the family because it was never expected, but these things happen, and again, I have to thank her to allowing me to experience all this great music, which has really become my life. I'm just turned 61, so again, I'm a byproduct of the disco era, really. But I have amassed a collection over my lifetime. It's not over yet, I hope, but I still buy from certain people. I have to be careful. I don't like to pay the state taxes, but I have kind of channeled my purchasing of records. I still look for those expensive items, but again, it was her that really brought me to this music, and I kind of continued it into the 60s, and she was a product of the 60s also, let alone when this music started happening. So she really gave me the knowledge base that again, and I really can't believe that I am even doing this show because I was a young collector at the time, not knowing anything about this music. It was funny, in high school, my friends and I would know, like, this is, Richie Valens and these are the Crests, and I knew all the big hits, but I didn't know a lot of the obscurities. And even though she had some in her collection, a lot of the records that I had were new to her too. But it was we had a fallout there for a few years, or actually more than a few years, but really the last 3 years we were involved together again, and she had some ailments, and unfortunately it never worked out. But again, I hope she's listening somewhere up there to the music. And it's funny, I'm driving in the car when I go into work into Newark, New Jersey, and the records come on one after another, and they're records that she owned. And sometimes I'm wondering if she's there with me. It's really interesting. But anyway, I had fun doing the show tonight. And again, sending it out to her. I hope you enjoyed the tunes tonight. I normally don't play as many hits as I do. And so if you enjoyed the show tonight, send me an email, vinyltreasures@aol.com. Again, you can send me requests. I like to work on requests for Mady and for Chuck and for Nat and for Warren and for others that have done that. So next Saturday will be my All 60s show. So I'll be here next Saturday with 1964 and later sounds out of my collection. I have some people that tune into this show and others that come in that have discovered the soul side of Johnny G and other things. But anyway, again, thank you so much for sticking around at this late hour. And again, that's going to do it. Tune in tomorrow evening for my buddy Dave the Rave and his Relics and Rarities show. And we're going to close the show tonight with one of my aunt's original records. And it's actually by a group from this area where Johnny G is broadcasting. This group is from Westchester County. Actually, they're from Terrytown. And where are they? Here they are. It's my aunt's original 45, supposedly, if they're from Terrytown, New York. Of course, that is where I'm broadcasting from. And both sides of this record are good. It's on the Parnasso label. It's from August of 64. It's by the Meridians, and it features Roger Bruno on lead, and the name of the tune is called Have You Forgotten? That is the closer for tonight, and Johnny G has not forgotten, nor I will never forget my aunt. That's going to do it, folks. Everybody have a safe and happy week. Want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I'll see you after Turkey Day. Hopefully, Johnny G is not going to be gaining some pounds there. I'm going to be good about that. But again, have a safe and happy week. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. Safe and happy Thanksgiving. I'll see you here next Saturday starting at 10 p.m. Thank you so much, Charlene, for all your help in helping me with this show tonight. Again, thank you all. Just want to say, everybody, so long.
Why must you be told my love is forever? It will never grow cold. Have you forgotten those kisses we share, the million and one times I told you I care? What else can I do to prove it's you that I'm thinking of? If it's a sin to love only you, that's all I'm guilty of. Have you forgotten the last time we met? If you'll but remember, you'll never forget.
Okay, folks. I don't know. Maybe the police, the YouTube police, are going to suspend me. I hope not. But anyway, I better sign off here. I've been on for too long. But there you go. The Meridians with Have You Forgotten? The flip side's nice too. It's called Blue Victory. Anyway, hopefully I'll see many of you next week. If not, again, have a happy Thanksgiving, folks. Again, thanks for sticking around tonight. Let's just sign off, folks. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.